So the Christian plea to go to heaven would be like saying that you want to go to prison, and it's like 98.2%, and like 99.5 or 99.8 that you'd have of a chance if you're like relatable to grace, and you have to go to the 100% mark. So it means you'd have to actually connect to something, and we'd have to show people what to, with and where to connect through and to, or to and through. That's what I've been saying. And you've got the idea of Jehovah's Witness, and they show you that only the 144,000 get in, which I thought they were kind of like an odd bunch growing up, but they have some elements of their understanding that may be adopted in terms of what's kind of seeing what I'm trying to show as the agenda of heaven itself. As if you look at the Christian faith, it's 46,000 denominations, is showing that we've probably indicated that there's something severely wrong and dividing in the faith itself, which makes up our beginnings. And if you look at how many times that this is divided, since when, and how many people attend church regularly and how they do so, you can look at statistics, and it begins to drop down around 2000 clearly on statistics. And a lot of things you see rise as well. So if you were to actually look at statistics overall, which I've been doing since before 2020 and 2010, you'll see that a lot of these negative gains are happening in step with some of the things that go on. And it really does have personal implications if you all start taking a look at yourselves as far as what you're aligned to. And you've probably actually played an active role in being unaware of what's going on because of a separation that's unnoticed between you and what's the higher order of consciousness, and how they connect to the idea of God, and what's below at the lowest point of what's physical to heaven, or the highest point of what's physical to heaven and physical to us, which would be the lowest point also, which means total understanding of evaluative content, of intention to reveal, isolate, describe, and effectively communicate what is the actual material realm, and how are its implications gratified to be displayed in our modern day world today. So that's where you see that you're not actually on that. You're actually ideating the security of being within the world itself. And the point is to be in the world and not of the world, but also to be a citizen of heaven. And the idea of giving to Caesar what is Caesar's is a notion of what is understood as having the ability to move through what is the regulation of the field and the world that you're living in, and how you can actually have functional use of yourself to spread what would be understood as the Great Commissioned tone of approaching evangelism from a place of being in relationship with a God creator that's also understood as putting you in a position to be a part of the world and be processed as a person who will profit and such and do well, but also understand that your gain is only personifying in what's pursuing the afterlife, which would be beyond here, which is something that we've seen forgotten through this time, where people have realigned their focuses on things relatable to non-Christian ethical concerns, which does not typically mean biblical if you look at all the denominations together, specifically adding in Christianity to Judaism related to Messianic Christianity, Messianic Judaism, and also Jehovahism, and there's partials to Mormonism and Scientological Christian and likely Templar related satanic Christian, and things that are not mentioned that are also a portion of the mind that connects to this, which may not have been processed publicly and have ordered themselves in private groups that also align themselves with darker agendas. So we might likely want to just kind of like add partial elements to that, to the peak notion of what's taking itself to the general psyche of the public and on through to the rest. And it would be me sitting there snapping my fingers and like looking around saying like, and that's me actually doing things that you can describe and I can explain them to you, but I don't, because they're that developed, and I don't want to because I don't have to, and it'll eventually work out anyway. So I just wanted y'all to know I actually do all those because I made a story where these people are doing that for this machine consciousness that have these medicines they take and psychic abnormalities because of the psychic geometry coming from the formation of the organic bonds related to the hydrocarbons and other molecules in relationship to that essential negotiation to author that form of molecule into an adaptation of your body to present symptomatic relief and also experience um, feelings and or intentions to describe an afforded lifestyle choice and present state on the other end of experiencing what would be known as a drug. And I think y'all know that that's kind of like what changes your mindset. So I want y'all to also think about the study of altered states of consciousness and how reproach of those that maintain the understanding of sincerity of being conscious and awake and aware within those states likely states that you're actually unaware yourselves of what's actually going on, which is the differential state of mind, which has to go from having a body process challenging you to something mentally stable to what is the center of your mind, and also seeing that phase and change over time, which is a 20, 30-year course for some people. And it takes 2 months for me to realize that it's actually making me feel normal because things were out of place in 2003, 2004, when I first smoked pot. So I just wanted you all to know that there's small indications that have been happening since 2000, but this is because of the 2000 thing weighing so much on the digital, and digital actually reveals itself as a third notion to consciousness that's not actually stable in our mind yet until 2020 because of the development of man and how we author through the generations and have to bring a generation up that's now been taught to be generational to our use of the computer, and also see that the generation predecessors to us also see that our use of the computer, as we teach many of them the use of the computer from the home out, it becomes something that's stable, and us simply having that in the home from the beginning and then moves on from there and establishes that as a form of generative consciousness of development that has to do with the digital hedron and ideals of what digital represents, and a graph being something that can humanize the anthropomorphication of a graph-like constant of digital information and make it into something where you can placate it into the idea of being a part of a story that rode out into the sunset and had all the people in it. And at the end of it, you actually have all your conversations and experiences, and you look around and you're thinking, damn, there's 3 guys there that I've not talked to in forever. And I heard them say one thing and it was interesting, but I've never even explored that. And then you end up exploring that port for 40, 50 years or generations. And it's those things that become the keyhole into existence, which actually shows us the hierarchy at its finest, which shows us that we do negotiate to be in a different area and recourse ourselves to our minds and understand that the monad structure is the mind of itself and corollary effect of connection with other minds as a relationship to the monad through the body process and the experiences of mankind as our processes and techniques and practices develop and example themselves in our constructions, cities, habitats, and also the way that we farm and choose to culture ourselves and produce the necessities of life as well as the amenities which choose us to learn other frames of reference to mind, as we also see the other side of altering states of consciousness, which is simply dopamine seeking behavior, which is likely every single person on earth because y'all like things like sugar and light and color and appealing looking things, and things like contact and social connection, things that also connect to dopamine. These are still phases of existence where you connect on the idea of being that. And the other side of it, dopamine suppression, is not actually the best thing for most cases because you actually want these things to be appealing to you in order to change your mentality to choose and what's actually going to be appealing, that's going to be greater in ranking and what's going to effectively locate us in a world which is also based as a world itself that's ambassadorship is related to heaven, and also becomes a stepping stone of learning and understanding and development so that we can simply exist in a place where we can choose what's the best way there by our own free will recognizance, so that we can get up into a zone that's related to heaven without taking people's free will because we say they're saved and say that they automatically go to heaven because they came to church one day. It does not work like that. There's too much self-doubt. There's too much self-contemplation, less of a complex understanding at the other end of how this connects to our mind all the way back through science and geometry and the things related to the mind and governing bodies and how things connect to physics and to the body and foods we eat and things that we grow and learn and all that stuff that we practice today. So my name is Greg Kolowich. I'm not a different guy. I've not actually done anything other than legitimately, excuse me for saying this, I took off the nigger suit y'all pasted on me. Like y'all like sat here doing things with your bodies and saying stuff with your friends without me there. When I yelled, I received that and repeated it without actually hearing it or seeing it. And I just yelled it so I didn't have to deal with it. I could like answer it and close it off from being avoided to me. But I just want y'all to know that actually doesn't do anything but seal me in and get y'all separate from me. So I wanted y'all to reach out to me in a way that's appealing to me. So likewise, you should probably find out what's appealing to me and sitting in my parents' basement with my dad upset because I'm not going to jump up to a phone call that's come last night when I was asleep, out of rhythm with my circadian complex, with the rhythm of the world, because of all these people being drifted aside of what's actually supposed to be exposed here, which is the idea of connecting to God. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of you are from Texas too, and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Idaho, and Montana and Wyoming, and the Dakotas. And I'm not here to do anything but do the Christian God. And when I did the Muslim stuff, or said that there's something with Islam or Buddha or Krishna or anything like that, it was literally to recruit them for the idea of this being a Christian movement that's not Christian anymore, because Christian isn't Christian. We're going to map Christian and example Christian and create a model and show others what Christian actually meant, or what Christ meant when he showed us that there's an open line of communication with God that's simply shown in Romans when he's citing that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father but by me. And the other phrase, narrow is the gate, wide is the path of destruction. So these are things related to a geometry when you see it, and it's psychic at that. So just remember, you have things like the 12 steps, which can model an understanding of a higher power, also going to God, and it can be at greater layers. So it probably indicates that it does work 100% of the time if you do it a certain way. But if you don't, it doesn't work. There's a psychic geometry problem there related to the number 12, guys. And you need to start thinking about these things without being that freaky guy that takes notes all the goddamn time about silly, weird shit. And then you see it and you're like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe this guy's got 4 pages on a freaking curlicue on an image that no one likes or cares about. That's not what this is about, because I've never been that person that sit here and draw on these like wild conclusions from the experiences of others and like pretend that I've judged their motives and creativity and discerned that I'm going to value the meaning of a curlicue on a page as some sort of symbolism for like the idea of communism and Leninism and socialism splitting up and also still having a central hue, which does not make sense to me in America, other than being some sort of West recruiting exercise of the Americans that has to do with the East and communism trying to take us and change us back in the 70s that y'all probably missed today. And it's just a part of our social general character of creativity and how we create and display things related to media and technologies and the arts and expressive cases that we have today in this world. So just remember, I actually don't like anything but how my life used to be, and none of my friends have been around recently. So that's a bummer to me, because I actually like these people and I like who they were and I liked chilling with them even though we didn't have this stuff. But if you've got my kids in your life now, you've got me as your parent, kid parent, and also your parent and your dad and your brother and your sister and your mom and your everything else around that, until we actually get to me to have my family back. That has to do with people that y'all are going to see stand with me, and I'm going to say, no fucking shit, I don't know you first before them. They're going to come before you. And that's how this will continue to repeat until y'all get it, because they do meet me first. And that's the point of them having the hierarchy lead over you, and then likely kids, in terms of what the parents are, in terms of what the boomer is with the millennials. And it's why I see that the millennials are actually hated by the boomer. It's not because they're actually annoying them because of what they choose. It's because they're not choosing what they're choosing, because they have been past the point of understanding how to learn that, and they don't have the general psychic knowledge in their public consciousness to make things like neuroplasticity and mindfulness and breathing exercises become part of the paint that simply paints the walls when people are in bed, because they've not actually done anything but focal point that into intrinsic society-based tendencies to connect to something that's offering the idea of connecting to it and simply being a part of it, because you're going to want to make money one day and be a part of a society that's inventing shit past having a bop it extreme being like the most intense thing that's ever been invented, from a person born in the 1960s to having a quantum computer that can warp time and send information forwards and backwards and show you in a quantum printout model that goes all the way through the atom, all the way through you taking a shit in the toilet and flushing it, and seeing the physics go right down back to the sewer, back as you walk into the kitchen and put water in your cup from the faucet and then drink it and then piss again 5 hours later, and then go start walking around looking at sodas and thinking how everything's connected. You can start there if you want to, but I'm still going to be sitting here, and the people that met me before you, that y'all are sitting here like bringing into your singlets, and you want to make it about them choosing to eliminate people from their lives. I just want you all to know also that family comes first. And when family comes from another family, it becomes your family. And when that family comes first, it became first the first time, and it's always been the first. So when the guy shows up to be first, that's part of the family that is not to the fucking family, but is his own family, looking to build back his family that's always been his family. Y'all are going to be in that family, but they're going to be first in my family before you're in my fucking family. And that's what y'all going to have to deal with and not be pushing these people around and acting like you own shit. So y'all are going to have to stop pushing yourselves into our story and remember that sound waves bounce both ways, and it's back to my sound waves that regulates tempo and things having to do with what's going on in Catholicism and the catechism and things related to geometry and things having to do with what's going on with super consciousness and super intelligence and all of these things that have to do with geometries that you speak to and do not say or do. And as you're walking around as a human, thinking that you're seeing contours and shapes and colors and densities and shades, you literally have an unconscious version that's like a freaking supercomputer human, Terminator version of you that's looking at everything with data points and indicated humors and necessities and movement phases. And you have like 68,000 lines radial telemetry related that you don't actually care to think about or look at. And you could probably isolate everything to like a 0.2 second kill radius if you actually wanted to become like programmed as like a Manchurian candidate kill bot and they wanted to do something. So I just want y'all to know that's how programmable you actually were. So if y'all want to actually connect back to something that's programming you in a safe way that we can all agree on, you can connect back to me in the order that it implies because that's actually how it works. It's not a compartmentalized zone that's mental to just make something to go to you. You actually have to do it together because it then connects back to the physical, all the magnetic, all your heartbeats, all your rhythms, all that stuff that's compassion related and it's simpatico, then we can start working on the same thing, but the order still implies itself. And it's not going to be a boomer that's pushing me around as far as how we connect to heaven. It's going to be y'all assisting us and attaching to the idea of other boomers connecting to us so we can develop the other end of the story so we can include y'all. Otherwise, we have to just let y'all know that it's going to progress through the generation and y'all would slot down and become your sons or daughters and do the same shit to your parents as you realize that you're not actually yourself, which seems like a weird fucked up version of the story if you ask me. So if y'all want to actually connect back to me and stop acting like I'm fucking crazy for being the only sane person you've ever known, remember that I don't actually like to work. I think it's what you actually made niggers do for a long ass fucking time, and it's how I was treated as a kid, and it's not that I don't like doing it. I don't feel like you should be telling me how to commit my body to selecting myself to diminish my energy to potentially like none. And you've got like the idea of a fucking camera that can follow us around, that can record my spirit and shit that comes out cracks y'all don't want to cover. And you want to like put me working by my goddamn self. And it almost looks like y'all don't even know how to take care of anyone at all in relation to what we're talking about. So you should like move quicker than slower and like make shit happen today because when I said I'm a manager, I'm not like a fucking asshole that controls you. I'm a person that understands operations and scheduling and lead times. And when a fucking lead time is there for a day and you're not delivering on a day lead time, that's a fucking problem. So this is like 1 minute out, 1 second type stuff. And it has to do with you making decisions and doing things in turn to communicate with others to make decisions. And that's how evangelism works. And that's what the Great Commission is for. So if y'all want to go ahead and start leading people to make disciples after they connect with me on the hierarchy of order, then we can start doing the command with Texas and Oklahoma and Oregon and Washington and all that. And Massachusetts and Vermont and New Hampshire and my fucking hometown of Town Lake and Woodstock, Georgia, Cherokee County. Yeah, yeah.